actual experience exceeds all expectations and is something that's hard to put into words. All these things that may seem big and impossible are not. It gives people that type of energy, that type of power.
In December 2016, the world of social media witnessed a coordinated strike. 400 of the world's most influential people posted a single, solid orange square. No caption, just a link. Within hours, the Fyre Festival was the most talked about event on the planet. It promised a transformative experience on a private island once owned by Pablo Escobar. Tickets range from $500 to $12,000. For the digital generation, it was the ultimate status symbol.
The actual experience exceeds all expectations and is something that's hard to put into words.
What's happening? There's no water over there. Oh, Jesus.
But the transformation wasn't what they expected. The luxury villas were disaster tents. The private island was a gravel lot in a developed part of Eczema. There were no bands, no gourmet food, and eventually no way out. We've all laughed at the memes, but if we look closer, Fyre isn't just a story about some rich kids getting stranded. It is a catastrophic breakdown of business ethics. Today, we're performing an autopsy on the human decisions, the toxic culture, and overall, the decisions has turned a startup into a $26 million crime scene. At the center of it all, it was Billy McFarland. To understand Fyre, we have to look at virtue ethics. This framework suggests that the morality of a company is a direct reflection of the character of its leader. A virtuous leader values honesty, transparency, and integrity. Billy McFarland, however, valued the perception of success over the reality of it. Billy was a product of a Silicon Valley culture that rewards disruptors for faking it until they make it. But Billy took this to a criminal extreme. When the festivals ran out of cash, he didn't pivot or come clean. He began a systematic campaign of securities fraud. He forged brokerage statements claiming he owned millions in Facebook stock that didn't exist just to lure in $26 million from investors. This is a total collapse of fiduciary duty. In business, when you take an investor's money, you enter into a sacred, legal, and moral contract to be a good steward for that capital. Billy didn't see his investors as partners, he saw them as obstacles to be manipulated. He rationalized by telling himself that once the festival was a hit, the money wasn't gonna matter. In ethics, this is called teleological reasoning, believing the end justifies the means. But when the means involve felony wire fraud, the end is usually a prison cell. One of the biggest mysteries of Fyre is why nobody stopped him. There were dozens of smart, experienced professionals on the team. They saw the red flags. 6 months out, consultants warned there were no toilets. 3 months out, they knew there was no housing. One contractor famously told Billy, "We need to cancel this now." What was Billy's response? "Let's just be legends." Why didn't they quit or blow the whistle? The answer is groupthink. This happens in high-pressure startups where the in-group pressure is so intense that it's treated as disloyalty. Billy created an environment where realism was labeled as negativity. Employees began to experience cognitive dissonance. They knew the festival was a disaster, but they had already tied their identities and their careers to success. To resolve that mental pain, they rationalized that dysfunction. They told themselves, "Billy's always gonna figure it out," or "It's too late to stop now." By suppressing their own moral agency, the staff became willing victims of the fraud. They weren't just employees anymore, they were participants in a collective delusion. When the festival collapsed, the internet delighted in finding joy in the misery of the influencers. But while the wealthy guys eventually got flights home, the real victims were left behind. In business ethics, we talk about stakeholder theory, the idea that business is responsible to everyone it touches, employees, customers, and the community. McFarland ignored every stakeholder except himself. Look at Marianne Roll. She ran a local restaurant in Eczema and worked 24 hours a day to feed the staff. When the money ran out, Billy's team vanished. Marianne ended up spending $50,000 of her own savings to pay her workers. Hundreds of Bahamian laborers who had to work in the sun for weeks were never paid a dime. From a utilitarian perspective, doing the greatest good for the greatest number, Fyre was a moral disaster. Billy traded the life savings of honest workers for a few days of looking like a genius on Instagram. These are what we call negative externalities, cost of business's decisions that are pushed onto people who never agreed to the risk. It is the ultimate form of social injustice.
Breaking news right now, the organizer behind the disastrous Fyre Festival in the Bahamas has been arrested. Billy McFarland is accused of defrauding ticket holders and deceiving investors to the tune of $1 million. The festival was billed as a weekend-long luxurious music event back in April, but instead, attendees ended up staying in refugee-style tents while performers like Blink-182 backed out. Aside from federal charges, McFarland and others connected with that festival are also facing more than a dozen civil lawsuits.
Billy McFarland was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. But as he attempts to come back today, we have to ask, has anything really changed? We live in an influence economy where information asymmetry, where the seller knows the truth but the buyer only knows the hype, is a feature and not a bug. As business students, Fyre is a cautionary tale. It shows us that ethics isn't just nice to have, it's the only thing that keeps a vision from a nightmare. If you take away the honesty, the accountability, and the respect for the stakeholders, all you have left is a gravel lot and a cheese sandwich. Innovation without ethics isn't disruption, it's just a crime with a better PR team. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my mini documentary.